Your SuperGold card is about to become something completely different. If you're one of the more than 900,000 New Zealanders who carry a SuperGold card, there's a change coming that could finally solve a problem that's quietly frustrated you for years. Not being able to prove who you are at the bank, at the lawyer's office, or anywhere that asks for photo ID. And if you don't understand exactly how this change works and exactly when it actually applies to you, you could end up either missing out on it completely, or worse, believing something about it that simply isn't true yet. There's one detail buried in this announcement that almost nobody in the media has explained properly. A timeline detail that changes everything about what you should actually do right now. I'll get to that in just a moment. This update comes straight out of Budget 2026. It's backed by tens of millions of dollars of government funding, and the numbers behind it might surprise you. I'm David, and you're watching New Zealand Pension Plan, the channel where we break down WINZ Super, government support programs, and important updates that could affect your finances, so you can make informed decisions and make sure you're receiving every entitlement you may qualify for. Now, before we get into the Super Gold card changes, I want you to understand why this matters so much to so many people. Right now, if you're over 65, there's a good chance you don't hold a driver's license, and there's a good chance you don't hold a passport either. Maybe you gave up driving a few years back. Maybe your passport expired and you never got around to renewing it because, let's be honest, you're not exactly planning an overseas trip. That's completely normal. But here's the problem. In today's world, if you don't have one of those two documents, proving who you are can become genuinely difficult. Opening a new bank account, changing your Kiwi saver provider, dealing with a lawyer over a will or a property matter. All of these things typically ask for one thing: government-issued photo identification. And until now, your SuperGold card hasn't counted. It's a fantastic card for public transport discounts and retail offers, but it was never built or recognized as a formal identity document. That's the gap the government has decided to close. Take a moment to consider whether this applies to your situation, because if you're one of the many older New Zealanders without a current driver's license or passport, what I'm about to explain could genuinely make your life easier. So here's what was actually announced. At Budget 2026, the government confirmed funding to upgrade the SuperGold card so that it can be used as an accepted form of primary identification, the kind of identification that meets the standards used by banks and other service providers. This isn't a rumor, and it isn't a proposal still sitting in a discussion document somewhere. It was confirmed as part of the budget itself, by the Minister for Seniors, and published through the Office for Seniors. Here's how the new card will actually work. The upgraded version will include a photograph and enhanced security features built to the same kind of standard that banks currently require when you open an account or verify your identity. It will be available in two formats: a physical card you carry in your wallet and a digital version you can use on your phone. And this is important. The upgrade will be completely free. There's no fee, no extra charge, and no catch buried in the fine print. It's also optional. If you're perfectly happy with your current SuperGold card and you don't need it to double as identification, you don't have to change a thing. Your existing card keeps working exactly as it does now. Same discounts, same transport concessions, same everyday benefits. Nothing is being taken away from anyone. This is purely an additional option being added on top of what you already have. And here's a small detail that matters to some of you specifically. Even with the upgrade, including your photograph will remain optional. So if you have concerns about that, know that there's flexibility built into the design. Now stay with me, because here's the part that most coverage of this story has gotten wrong, or at least glossed over. And it's the single most important thing for you to understand before you do anything. This upgraded, ID-capable SuperGold card is not available yet. It's expected to become available from October 2028. That's not a typo, and that's not me being overly cautious. That is the timeline that has been confirmed alongside the funding announcement. This is a fully funded, confirmed government initiative, but it is a future rollout, not something you can walk into a work and income office and request tomorrow. Why does this matter so much? Because if you go and try to use your current SuperGold card as identification at a bank today, it won't be accepted, because the systems and standards behind this upgrade haven't been built and rolled out yet. I want to be completely straightforward with you about that because there is a lot of confusion online right now with some content suggesting this is already live. It isn't, not yet. What is confirmed is that the money has been allocated, the plan has been announced, and the work is now underway to build it. So, what should you actually do with this information right now? Honestly, nothing urgent. There's no application to fill out today, there's no deadline you need to rush to meet, and there's no form sitting in your MyMSD account waiting for you. What I'd suggest instead is simply filing this away. Keep it in the back of your mind, and if you're the kind of person who likes to stay ahead of these things, subscribe to this channel because when the rollout details firm up closer to 2028, the exact application process, whether you need to do anything at all or whether it happens automatically, we'll cover it here, with the same accuracy we're giving you today. Now, in just a moment, I want to walk you through exactly how much money the government is putting behind this, because the figures tell you something important about how seriously this is being treated. But before that, let's talk about why this upgrade exists in the first place, because understanding the reasoning helps you understand how committed the government actually is to seeing it through. The stated reason behind this initiative is straightforward. More than 900,000 New Zealanders are aged 65 and over. A significant number of them don't hold a current driver's license or passport, the two forms of ID that most institutions currently accept. Without one of those, older New Zealanders can find themselves locked out of ordinary financial and legal processes. Something as simple as verifying identity to access banking services or legal support. This upgrade is designed to close that gap, using a card that almost every eligible senior in the country already carries. This sits within a broader piece of work called the Better Later Life Action Plan, which runs from 2025 through to 2028 and is focused on helping older New Zealanders stay independent, stay connected, and continue living well as they age. The SuperGold ID upgrade is one practical piece of that wider plan. Now, here are the actual numbers behind the funding, because this is where you can see the government isn't just talking about this. They've put real money behind it. Budget 2026 allocates $36.4 million in operating funding, plus a further $6.46 million in capital funding, specifically to support the design and delivery of this upgraded card and the systems behind it. That's over $40 million in total committed to making this happen. When you see funding numbers like that attached to a policy, it tells you this isn't just a talking point for a press release. There's an actual budget line, an actual government department responsible for delivery, and an actual expectation that this will be delivered. Keep watching because next I want to walk you through what this means for your NZ super payments right now, in 2026. Because that's money that's already landing in your bank account, unlike the ID card, which is still a few years away. Let's talk about your actual NZ super payment, because this is where the real immediate financial impact sits for you today. Every year on the 1st of April, NZ super rates increase. This isn't linked to inflation the way most other benefits are. NZ super and the veterans pension are adjusted based on average wage growth, which is a deliberate legal requirement designed to make sure retirees share in the country's overall wage growth, not just keep pace with the cost of living. As of the 1st of April 2026, here's what the after-tax rates actually look like, assuming NZ Super is your main income and you're on the standard M tax code. If you're single and living alone, which includes the living alone payment, you're now receiving $1,110.30 every fortnight. If you're single but sharing accommodation with someone else, your fortnightly payment is $1,024.90. And if you're part of a couple where both of you qualify, your combined fortnightly payment is $1,708.16, which works out to $854.08 each. Now I want to pause here, because there's a common piece of misinformation circulating about couples' payments that I want to clear up directly. You may have seen figures online suggesting couples are now receiving somewhere around $1,040 a week combined. That number is inflated. The actual, confirmed, government-sourced figure works out to roughly $854 a week combined, based on the official fortnightly rate of $1,708.16. If you're budgeting your household expenses around what you expect to receive, please work from the correct figure, not an estimate you've seen shared around social media. This year's increase reflects a consumer's price index rise of just over 3% between the December 2024 and December 2025 quarters, and it's formalized through a piece of legislation called the Social Security Rates of Benefits and Allowances Order 2026, which came into force on the 1st of April. That's the legal instrument behind the numbers I've just given you. This isn't a media estimate, it's set in law. Now, here's an important detail about how the payment actually lands because this catches people out every single year. The 1st of April doesn't always land neatly at the start of your payment cycle. If your regular payment falls in the last few days of March, you'll still be paid at the old rate for that period because you're being paid for time that's already passed. Then, in the following payment, you'll often get a blended amount, part at the old rate, part at the new rate, simply because the 1st of April falls partway through your normal pay period. It's only from the payment after that where you'll see the full new rate applied consistently. If you've ever looked at your bank statement in early April and thought the increase looked smaller than you expected, this is almost certainly why. There's nothing wrong with your payment. It's just the mechanics of how the timing works. There's also a critical detail here that catches a huge number of people off guard every year, and it's this. The rates I just gave you are all based on the M tax code, which assumes your NZ Super is your only source of income. If you're still working part-time, if you're earning rental income, if you have investment income on top of your super, you are very likely on a different tax code, something like SSH or ST, and that means your actual take-home super payment will be lower than the headline figures I just gave you. This is one of the single most common sources of confusion I see from viewers of this channel. People assume something has gone wrong with their payment, when in reality, it's simply that their additional income has moved them into a different tax bracket, and their super is being taxed accordingly. It's not a punishment, and it's not a mistake. It's simply how New Zealand's progressive tax system interacts with your total income. I'll explain shortly what else can affect your payment beyond your tax code, including one issue that trips up a surprising number of people who've lived or worked overseas. Keep watching, because this next part could directly affect how much you're actually entitled to. If you've ever lived or worked in another country, Australia, the United Kingdom, or a range of other nations New Zealand has social security agreements with, this next point genuinely matters to you. Any overseas pension you're entitled to can affect how much NZ Super you receive here. In many cases, your overseas pension is offset against your NZ Super, meaning the two aren't simply paid on top of each other. This is one of the most common causes of disputes and confusion between pensioners and MSD, because people are often surprised to learn that an overseas entitlement reduces what they receive locally. If this applies to you, the right move is to contact Work and Income's International Services directly and get your specific situation checked, rather than assuming either payment will simply stack on top of the other. Here's another mistake that costs people money, and it's one that's easy to avoid once you know about it. If your living situation changes, say you move from living alone into a shared living arrangement, or the opposite, you start living alone after previously sharing, you are required to report that change to Work and Income. Your payment rate is directly tied to your living arrangement. If you don't report a change and you continue receiving the higher living alone rate when you're no longer eligible for it, MSD can and will identify that discrepancy eventually, and you may be required to repay the difference. Nobody wants an unexpected debt notice landing in their letterbox, so if your circumstances change, make the call and update your details straight away. It takes a few minutes, and it protects you from a much bigger headache down the track. There's one more detail connected to all of this that I think deserves your attention, and it involves the Community Services Card. If you currently hold a Community Services Card, and you then get approved for NZ Super, your Community Services Card stops working. This happens automatically because your income situation has technically changed the moment your super is approved. What a lot of people don't realize is that you need to reapply, and when you do, Work and Income issues what's called a combo card, a single card that combines both your Community Services Card entitlements and your SuperGold Card entitlements together. If you skip this step, you could lose access to subsidies and discounts you were previously relying on, simply because nobody told you the card needed reissuing. Make sure you're not missing out on support you may be entitled to, because these small administrative details are exactly the kind of thing that quietly costs pensioners money every year, without anyone ever explaining why. Now let's bring this back to the SuperGold card itself, because I want to make sure you leave this video with total clarity, not just a headline. Right now, in 2026, your SuperGold card works exactly the way it always has. It gives you access to instant discounts and special offers at thousands of participating businesses across New Zealand and in Australia, along with public transport concessions in most regions. None of that changes because of this budget announcement. What's changed is that the government has now funded and confirmed a future upgrade, a version of the card that will double as a legally recognized form of photo identification, suitable for banking and other formal services. That upgrade is expected to roll out from October 2028. It will be free, and it will be entirely optional. You may want to check your eligibility for other support after hearing all of this, because the SuperGold card sits alongside a range of other entitlements many pensioners aren't fully using. Things like the winter energy payment during the colder months, the accommodation supplement if you're renting or paying a mortgage, and the disability allowance if you're facing ongoing medical or disability-related costs. None of these are automatic just because you receive NZ Super. In many cases, you need to apply, and a genuine number of eligible people simply never do, because they assume they wouldn't qualify or they've simply never been told these payments exist. So here's what I'd encourage you to actually do after watching this video. First, understand clearly that the SuperGold ID upgrade is confirmed, funded, and real. But it is not available yet and won't be until around October 2028. There is no application to make today. Second, check that your NZ Super payment reflects the correct 2026 rate for your specific living situation. And if you're earning other income, understand that your tax code, not a mistake by work and income, is likely the reason your payment differs from the headline figures. Third, if you've lived or worked overseas, get your overseas pension situation checked directly with Work and Income's International Services so you know exactly where you stand. And fourth, if your living arrangements ever change, report it straight away so you're never caught out by an unexpected repayment request later on. To bring this all together, Budget 2026 has confirmed a genuinely useful upgrade to the SuperGold card, one that will eventually let more than 900,000 older New Zealanders use a card they already carry as accepted photo identification, at no cost and entirely by choice. It's backed by real government funding, over $40 million combined, and it sits within a longer-term plan to support older New Zealanders through to 2028 and beyond. Alongside that, your NZ Super payments increased again on the 1st of April 2026, in line with wage growth rather than inflation, and understanding exactly how those figures apply to your own tax situation and living arrangements can make a real difference to what actually lands in your account. If you found this update helpful, make sure you subscribe to New Zealand Pension Plan. I'm David, and my goal is to help you stay informed about NZ Super, WINZ, MSD, and every important government support update that could affect your finances. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next update.